No, I just need the adapter. Watch your knee, because I done tore my knee up on this. This thing will take you out. Out.
You be like,
yes, out of here. Welcome to one of many of our I guess soul to soul conversations. I guess that's what we need to call them. You know, the energy in the air is just one of change. It's one of deep change. We are only 4 weeks into the new year, to 2025, and we are seeing some radical changes that I never thought in a million years I would, witness, let alone have a front row seat here in the United States of America. Like, what is happening? Yeah. And so it's when the collective, it's when the world, it's when us individually, when we find ourselves in a state of just being lost. I know for myself, the only thing that I can grab onto is my spirituality, because that's the only thing I know is sure. Yeah. I know the still small voice that I hear inside of me. I know that that's my anchor, and I can always get back to that, right? So like-minded people tend to find each other. Exactly. And I'm here to introduce my friend, my brother, my spiritual counselor. Yes. And just a very, very wise person that I respect, to the utmost regard, Suten Aten. Yes. So thank you so much for joining us here today.
And as you were saying, and what's going on is that a lot of people are lost. They're lost because they don't have the adequate instructions to live by. They're lost because there's so many weapons that are being used against the masses that they don't even realize. So if you're under a certain type of attack and you don't even know that you're under attack, then that causes you to have despair. That causes you to get lost. But at the same time, there is a force, there is an entity that people call God. People, because of how I speak of what we call God, they say, well, you sound like you don't believe in God. And I said, no, I don't believe in God. I know it's a God. It's a difference. So we have to watch our language and what we say. Belief leaves room for doubt. Mm-hmm. I have no doubt about God, but most people, they have been conditioned when they think of God, and there's nothing wrong with it or bad about it, but they need to know that there's other sources, there's other means. Most of the time when they speak of God, they think of church. There's nothing wrong with affiliating God with church. There's no problem. I have no problem with that. But at the same time, we have to make the distinction between religion and God and spirituality. And when we know the difference, it may come a time when we may not be able to go to church. What are you going to do then? So we have to realize and know that what we call church is within us. We have the opportunity to connect with what we call God, which is beyond label, beyond name. That's why I say what I say, what they call God, because the fact that you are given it a label, a name, limits it, and it's unlimited. It's omnipresent. And we as individuals are connected to that source, but we have to know how. But we've been conditioned through, I call it silent weapons with quiet wars, meaning that the powers that be know the nature of human beings, and we don't understand our nature. Our nature is that a certain period of time of the day, a certain period of time of our life, we need to have silence. We need to be able to go within. If it's going then in silence with someone that we love, just being in each other's presence, being in your beautiful daughters in presence without even talking, observing each other, or being out in nature, or meditation and going within. All those things are necessary, but most people, it's hard for them to keep their minds still enough because their mind has been fragile and it's going like this. And when I tell my clients, and when I tell young people and people of all ages and all races and all genders that they have to stop thinking, they're looking at me like, what you talking about? You got to stop thinking. What you mean? And I illustrate to them when I say stop thinking, well, more or less I'm saying that you have to slow your mind down, because your mind is doing like this. If you notice, when you try to have a certain amount of silence, or you try to have a certain amount of time to yourself, then all kind of thoughts are flashing through your head. Boom, 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 boom. Well, in order for us to connect with the spirit, in order for us to connect with God, we have to slow it down. And it takes a while.
Mm-hmm.
It may take months. Sometimes it may take years. At first you're like this, then after a year's time, it's like that. The more you slow it down and it stops, then the messages can come clear for you from God, from the universe, from your environment. And you will see the deeper things, not the superficial and surface things. You'll start saying when you meditate and you pray, prayer is when you speak to your inner self, speak to your higher self, speak to God. Meditation is when you listen.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation is listening. Praying is when you're speaking out. So we have to know the difference between that. When we learn that difference, then when things go on in a society that seemed horrific, a 13-year-old boy is on the news. A 13-year-old boy was breaking in homes, and I don't know if he knew that it was a girl or girls in the different houses that he invaded, and he would attack them. And they caught him, and he was 13 years old. They haven't found out what was going on with his mind. But that is to say that is something going on with that young man that we have to know, and it's given us a signal. When you talk about meditation, you talk about prayer, those type of behaviors, that type of incident, people crashing in the cars, mothers doing horrific things to their children. You know, it was a time where if you heard something like that, it would just be, oh my God. But you hear a lot of things that's happening between human beings that is horrific. Now, I said all that to say is that those people are lost. Those people don't know how to listen to their inner selves. The inner selves has been attacked possibly through physical abuse or through sexual abuse. All those things block the messages because we're in so much pain, we're in so much suffering. So we have to know how to, in our lives, disconnect the best way we can through therapy, through prayer, through meditation, through help from another individual, so that we can escape from out of the matrix of pain, the matrix and things that has happened to us that can make us human. Fast forward, my whole point is that the world is in a colliding, horrific point, whereas if we don't learn how to connect with each other, and connect with each other, then we're going to experience a dystopia.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about, first off, what is a dystopian society? What is dystopia, and what does a dystopian society look like?
It looks like a confused, suppressed, oppressed state of the world globally, or a section of the world or country, whereas the people are suffering because the government has imposed certain type of rules, imposed certain type of psychological manipulation, that the people are lost and they are controlled by the government. It may be through technology, it may be through the food, it could be social, political, and beliefs. All these things has caused the person to be like a robot. The Hunger Games, that movie talks, is an example of that.
Now, is that a real life? Like, have we historically seen a real life dystopian society?
Well, in the medieval times in Europe, you have the bishops and the popes and the people who were in leadership that hid certain types of knowledge about the Creator and manipulated people in the name of God.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always some type of, in that type of situation, dystopia, in that type of situation, there's a certain type of either psychological manipulation, or biological manipulation, Now it's on all levels.
Mm-hmm.
Back then it was through using God.
Yeah. Now
truth,
that's spiritual manipulation. Yeah.
Oh,
Or
yes.
religious manipulation. Yeah.
that happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's happened. That can be part of it, or
Yeah.
it could be psychological manipulation, telling you what you need, what you don't need, depriving you of certain types of knowledge and understanding of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So this is happening now,
Mm-hmm.
but on a wider range, and it's happening now through the internet.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening now through social media. It's happening now through the music. It's happening now through the food, and it's
Mm-hmm.
happening now in having so much information that people don't know how to decide what is factual, what is healthy, and what's not. Because you're getting all these different people stretching their opinions.
Right. Exactly.
And so I'm not saying that people in themselves mean any harm, but certain type of knowledge should not be shared, because you have to be prepared and have a process in really understanding certain things that's real deep. When you have people that talk about entities exist, but you got to know how to present that. Everyone is not ready for that. Someone will mistaken that for something else, and maybe even try something, and they can become suppressed because of their frequency, and their thinking will be more open to entities that don't mean you well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because now, because of the when you talk about the different seasons and the different eras, we are just going into a 9-year. This is sort of part where I go deep into numerology. A 9-year, it globally represents a time for us to look at the whole picture of what's going on in our lives. The 9 represents a time when we need to learn and see what in our lives that need to be left alone and how we need to develop. It deals with the masses and looking at people way beyond what we've been taught, to let go of conditioned thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And know that the concept of what we call race was something that was imposed upon us, and that when the term race came about, it was through the powers that be that want to separate human beings. So the concept of race separated human beings. The concept of religion divided human beings. The concept of politics made people have a decisive way of thinking that this is the way and no other way. So psychologically it divided them, and wealth classified them.
Right, for sure.
So before all these things existed, we all were human beings.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
So part of the power to be is to separate us in many different ways, and we have to know how that happens. We have to know how we have to have a certain type of behavior and know what's good for us and what's not good for us. Sexuality, these kind of things need to be understood. You do, when I speak to people and I speak to young people about sexuality, I'm not preaching to them. I don't know how this sounds. I'm not even talking about in a moral sense, but you have to be mindful and careful who you come together with.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm.
It's just, I mean, you can say, well, I just like to have a good time. I ain't looking for this and I ain't looking for that. I'm just looking at, but you have to be careful, because part of ancient rituals was people would exchange entities and exchange spirits through sexual contact.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Whether it be a man and a woman,
right,
or a man and a man, or a woman and a woman.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I ain't making no kind of, judgment,
right,
but you have to know the mechanisms that you're dealing with.
Right.
If a woman is having many men in her life, and then she lays with a man, then that man would pick up the entities and spirits of all the other men she's been with, and vice versa. If a man has been with many women, and he lays with a woman, then that woman would pick up different energies. So what's your point, Suten Aten? My point is that when you open yourself up And not knowing you open yourself up, then not only you open yourself to venereal diseases, you're opening yourself up to different entities. So all the things I just got through stating, okay, about the psychological, about the biological, about the spiritual, can have us oppressed and suppressed if we're not careful and not even know why. To have riches and be wealthy and everything and still be unhappy. Because happiness, because wealth and money doesn't make you happy. It makes it easier for you, that's for sure, but it doesn't make you happy. What's going on then globally, what you suffer and what another person suffer, we all are going to feel it some type of way.
Right.
So the society and the masses, okay, become oppressed by the different energies that exist, because you have thought forms. Whatever you're thinking, you have thought forms. And those thought forms come from out of your being, and it floats and exists, whatever, like sometimes if you go in a certain establishment or someone's home, it'll feel a certain type of way because of the thoughts and behavior and actions of the people. We have to know what we are doing with our lives every day. We have to analyze. We have to think about what we think about. We have to, and then I'm finished. You have to examine your mind, because you have to study what's studying, and that's your mind. The name mind is very vague, because when I was growing up, my mom, she'd say, "Boy, have you lost your mind?" That meant behavior. Have you know, but when the teacher talks about mind, the teacher talks about your ability to remember, your ability to have cognitive ability about certain things. A psychologist is dealing with your whole emotional, mental, physical, and biological aspects of yourself. They're talking about mind. So mind has many different meanings to different people. So, but we have to connect with that. The nine teaches us that we have to go beyond our physical selves.
You know, esoteric knowledge there's so many layers.
Yes.
And it's like you said, it's if you have ears to hear, then you do.
For those who can hear. And
so it's like everybody can't hear it, but then for those people that are feeling like that spiritual nudge, and they're starting to, their ears are starting to say, "Wait a second, stuff just don't seem right." That's kind of where it starts. It's just stuff just seems off. And when people kind of find themselves in that place, they don't know nothing about nothing. So, you know, it's like when I started the journey of just kind of digging in deeper and understanding what my whole blueprint was on a soul level, I needed to be able to attach real life situations, real life archetypes, you know, real life scenarios, so that I could make it make sense, because it don't make sense when people just talk about it. It's like, okay, but that sounds deep. But then it's like, it sounds deep. Okay, let's bring it up from deep and let's make it plain. Let's make it so doggone easy, because at this point I can't go digging deep. I'm tired, you know? And so I don't, you know, I want to start, you know, and please forgive me, y'all, if you guys are like, "No, let's go deep. But I want to go deep. I just, I want to make sure that we don't, that we're going deep together and we're all on the same page.
That's impossible.
It is impossible. It is impossible. It is.
Everybody ain't gonna make it.
Everybody's not gonna make it. But I do think that, there's a certain people that can hear a call.
Yes.
And they resonate with the frequency that you send out.
Exactly.
And so, you know, it's like, okay, so the people that can.
Right.
So, but right now, a lot of people think that this just hit us out of nowhere. That like, what is happening? One day things were normal. Next thing, things don't seem so normal. We have a convicted felon in the sitting as the president of the United States. We have his seemingly right-hand man, which seems to be making a whole lot of calls, an unelected person that's not even a U.S. born person in our governmental office up there changing up stuff in all our information.
Yeah.
I mean, this in any other country would have been considered a long time ago a coup, would have been considered a takeover. It's like, us American people, we've not been used to things like this. We have been used to just being fat and sassy. You know, we just fat and sassy. We gonna eat great. We gonna sit there and watch our good stuff. We gonna be looking good. We gonna have all of the luxurious things. And this world is feeling like, you know, we're like, oh, we watching a movie because that's what we're used to. We're used to everything just being like this whole movie. So it's like, oh, this is good. We eat our popcorn watching this. But it's almost like that's how we are. We're like rocked to sleep. But this didn't happen.
It is a movie. They've been showing you the movies.
They've been showing the movie. But this didn't happen overnight. This has been something that has been happening over a series of time.
Yes.
Through eons and eons and eons and building and building and building until finally we reach this place.
Yes.
Some people call it a spiritual shift. Some people say, is this, is the rapture on the way? Is Jesus coming? Is this the end times? Are we in Revelation, Lord? Some people are calling this Pluto moving into Aquarius for those that are newly enlightened and those people that are astrologically tapped in. Some people are saying we living in a movie. This is a matrix. It's all a simulation. It's not real. Y'all create your own reality. What is it? What is it? Where are we? Tell me about the energies of where we are now today, but also, did we just wake up one day on January 1st, 2025, and then it was just like, all right, y'all, we're down for an adventure. Is that what just collectively we decided?
Well, we didn't decide it. Everything that exists in time has a beginning and has an end. Everything that exists has a beginning and an end. It has a middle. It has a transition. So we're in a phase of transition. And the way that we're going to be able to deal with this transition is for us to collectively come together spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And we'll be able to deal and surpass it, but it will be on a spiritual level that's beyond thought, that's beyond anyone can understand. It's much bigger than physical.
Hello, my name is Suten Aten. To get in touch with me, you can go to sutenaten.com. I have a Facebook page called Suten Aten. I do name analysis. I do numerological forecasts. Astrology and numerology is not fortune telling. It's telling you what season it is in your life. You came here a certain day, a certain year, a certain month, and a certain place. Your soul chose that in order for it to operate on a certain level and learn certain lessons. With that being said, thank you so much for listening. God bless.